All right, everybody, that's quite enough of that god-awful music. Unhappy Thursday! Coming to you live from the 215 to the 513. This is Unhappy and the MP. Brought to you by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. We thank you for joining us from wherever you may be and whatever service you're using to tune in. Just so you know, we are back live on Facebook. I didn't hit the Twitter button to get us on this one yet. I don't know if that one works. We'll give that a shot next week. But I know we're streaming on Facebook again, which is a welcome return after a quite a lengthy hiatus. Mason, you're not aware of what went down there, I don't think. So I'll fill you in on that. It was actually kind of funny, but it ended up being funny. It started out not so funny. Anyways, we are back on Facebook as well as YouTube tonight. So pull up a chair, turn up the volume if you got to. Use the company dime if, God forbid, you're still stuck at work. Crack open a cold one if you're getting your weekend started early. And let's have some fun as we put an end to Friday Eve and welcome in the upcoming weekend. How we doing, Mason?
Doing good. It's been the slow season at sports betting, and so my job has been at a steady crawl recently. But with the Olympics and everything, it's been some nice entertainment. Good to see the United States kind of winning some medals there. But it's a slow news season though, with football and other kind of sports kind of dying down a little bit. Where football is the other sport that's really died. Baseball is going to start heating up a little bit. You got hockey, and then you got basketball, of course. But NFL is truly king, and even in the off season, it still kills.
Yeah, I'm sure. You got bets rolling in yet on the futures already, like MVP and predictions for Super Bowl? I'm sure those are already coming in. They've got to be.
Oh yeah, we already had those markets up before the Super Bowl was even ended, and so we're well planned into the future regarding that stuff.
I love it. Over to the room, we got Keenan Harmon, Lou Mancini, David Loeb, Scott Calcaterra. What is up, everybody? How y'all doing? I'm happy we got Facebook back. Gives us a broader, spectrum rather than just the YouTube. I didn't try to hit the Twitter button, but we'll give that a shot. It was like a year ago or so, maybe 2 years ago. Twitter wanted you to have a paid Twitter subscription in order to stream live on it.
Gotcha.
And at the time, we just weren't going to do that, right? So I don't know, Green Legion-wise, if they've elected to do that now. Facebook was a whole other animal. Some of the folks in here remember, I know Lou and Keenan. If Russ joined, Russ is in the room. I am working. There he is. Scott Calcaterra, I'm sure you're not aware of this, but a while back, the Green Legion Facebook page got hacked. And so the running joke was the hackers were posting like elephant porn and all kinds of stupid shit. Well, because of it, it took a lot of doing by Samantha, I think mostly Samantha, maybe Diaz, to try to regain control of the page. And in that time period, StreamYard lost connection to the Facebook page. And try as she did, Sam for forever tried to get it relinked back up, and it just wouldn't take. But recently, we're back on, so we're able to. So when you set these shows up, you have your StreamYard account, and then you link your social media pages to it.
Sure.
And then you go in and you give it the little background image and the description of the show, title of the show, and you choose which of your social media accounts you want to stream to. So I would click on all of them, and then it would tell me, StreamYard's lost connection to Facebook, StreamYard's lost connection to Twitter, blah, 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 blah. So we've been strictly YouTube for quite a while.
Interesting.
Facebook's back. We'll give Twitter a shot next week. Maybe we can get all three going. It was really a bummer because, at the time when that happened, we were pulling hundreds of viewers every single week. Hundreds,
wow.
upon hundreds every single week. So it was going well, and then the big kibosh and elephant porn came in. I'm sure our regulars here remember all that shit. It was a pretty wild
That's
time.
Funny, though. That's funny.
I'd be talking to Sam and be like, "What the fuck is going on over there?" So I don't know. We got hacked, and now I can't get it back. I'm like, "Oh God, that's terrible." Anyways, let's get the sponsorship out of the way real quick here. I would say Michelle's favorite part of the show, but it would have no effect. She ran down to the local Wawa real quick here to my son wanted something. She's gonna bring me back a coffee. But be that as it may, we are proudly sponsored by Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, located at 2740 South Front Street in Philadelphia. Just minutes away from the sports complex, Cheerleaders brings you the area's most beautiful women on 5 different stages. Open 7 days a week from noon until 2 a.m. and until 4 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. For group information, call 215-467-1980. Also offering free parking, a full menu, daily drink and food specials, and a premium selection of cigars and a cigar lounge. If you're looking for a place to take in a Flyers game, Phillies game, Sixers game, you can't really fork over the money for the tickets, head on over to Cheerleaders and enjoy the 75-foot HD TV wall, as well as HD TV screens throughout the entire club. Once again, folks, that's Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, 2740 South Front Street in Philly. Call 215-467-1980 for all of your group and party information. As always, folks, at the bottom on the ticker here, greenlegion.com, you will see it. It will always be scrolling here. We are less than a month away from early bird specials being offered. That news came out on the 13th, and it will be March 13th when the early birds become available. This is for all of your 2026 road trips, okay? Not the home tailgates. This is the road trips. So if you're looking to go to Nashville, Chicago, Jacksonville, Arizona, San Francisco, Dallas, this is when you want to jump on it, right? It'll be a $200 to $300 per person for the sign up for the early bird. That holds your spot. Then the schedule gets released in early May. Well, if say Mason and I wanted to go to Nashville, and we put in our $300 each, and then the fucking NFL decides that, well, Eagles going to play the Titans in London. Well, I'm not going to London, so we're going to shift gears. But, Chicago, well, that weekend works. You can then take your early bird deposit, shift it over to the Chicago trip, and not lose your place in line. If for some reason the schedule comes out and no trips work for you for whatever reason, they're playing in London, it's a Christmas game, it's a Monday night and you can't do it, it's a Thursday night and you can't do it, you can get a full refund back up to a certain date, which I believe is usually June 1st. So on March 13th, set your calendars, folks, if you want to jump on. And I highly, highly recommend that you do it, and do it early. Don't be stupid and wait and think this stuff is just going to be available. We will sell out, I promise. Get on it. Jump on it early. Get your early bird. And then see where the chips fall when the schedule comes out. GreenLegion.com, folks. Green Legion road trips, the best and longest tenured in the business. And it ain't fucking close. And no, I've never traveled with another group. So when I say it's not close, I say that with absolutely no experience with another group. I don't ever intend to experience another group, to be perfectly honest with you. I love the Green Legion, and that's it. And I wear it on a regular basis. This is the shirt from the Denver trip back in 2021. That was excellent. Over to the room here real quick. Boy, they are fast and furious tonight, brother. It's just everybody commenting about that. There were some jacked up porn links from that hack. I mean, I have seen some stuff, but that stuff made me blush Now, when Russ says this is a guy who will go out wearing a T-shirt that says "I love sluts" and a hat that says "titties." So if it makes him blush, they're doing a good job. Scott Calcaterra, not just Michelle's favorite part. Keenan says, I'm tired of Wawa, considering moving down south close to a Buc-ee's. All right, real quick on Buc-ee's. Here's what I will tell you on Buc-ee's. I've been to one time. Was on the way back from Grady's graduation from boot camp. We stopped. It was in Seaverville, Tennessee, right outside of Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, that whole touristy area there. It's fun. It's enormous. It's a little obnoxious. And it is not something I would ever go out of my way to do. I got a Wawa less than 2 miles from my house. And I live in Ohio. I'm thrilled about it. I get it. For you guys up there, it's just kind of like, it's a fucking Wawa, right? They're all over the place. For us out here, our first one opened last April on my birthday, which was awesome.
What?
Yeah, it opened on my birthday. It was
wow.
fantastic. I was the fourth person to walk into the store at the grand opening. Yeah, we got invited to the VIP event the day before and everything. It was cool.
I've heard a lot of things about Sheetz, but
yeah, Sheetz is another one. Sheetz is like made to order food, whereas Wawa is more fresh to order food.
Do you have any Royal Farms over there?
No Royal Farms. No, we've got Casey's. The closest Sheetz is probably 20, 25 minutes away.
Okay.
Just trying to get into the area. United Dairy Farmers, or UDF, is that's a big one around here. They really need to just stick to milkshakes and ice cream, though, because when the rumors first started that Wawa was coming into the area, UDF tried to react to that and change their layout, add more food, and they can't keep up with Wawa, dude. It's just not. Like, get the fuck
Wawa's
out
an
of here,
animal.
dude.
Wawa's a machine.
It's a machine, dude. Who else? Oh, there's Josh is in the room. Don't all girls wear fake eyelashes? Fake. My God, you guys are on fire tonight, boy. I tell you that. Who is this? Did they hold the door for you at Wawa? Bonner 2067. I don't know who that is. Mason, you got any idea?
It might be an inside joke, but the name doesn't shout anything immediately, so I'm going to reserve my I'm going to reserve a note for this one.
Well, welcome in, whoever you are. I don't know who that is. Big Kids, it's Shooter.
Okay.
What's up, brother? Hey, he is fantastic. Big cans, loves his Kingers, 16-ounce Miller Lights. You got video of him holding like the beer thing at the stadium, right? And he's just yelling out, all right, Miller Lite, big kids, go Birds. Good shit.
That's so good.
And Dev in the room. Dev Fritz, what's up, brother? One of our folks, one of our loyal folks out here. All right. So I would save the birds for a few minutes. We're going to open with a little bit of baseball here. And I know it's going to bore the shit out of some people, but and I don't want to spend a whole hell of a lot of time on it. But if you are a baseball fan, which I am, and most of our folks are, some are not. Keenan will tell you baseball sucks. What I will tell you is if I was you, I would enjoy the shit out of the 2026 season. And that is because, one, just because you're going to, you want to enjoy it anyways, but you've got the collective bargaining agreement, which will expire on December 1st of this year. And the linchpin of a new agreement is likely going to be the owners trying to force a cap and a floor, which is something baseball desperately needs for the sake of the sport, in my opinion.
For parity.
But your top 1% salary players are not going to go for it. Bryce Harper already expressed his opinions on it directly to Rob Manfred in the Phillies clubhouse, which I don't agree with Harper doing that, but it's his right. The only thing I will say is I'm hoping to God that this new person because Tony Clark, the president of the MLBPA, is gone. And he has been a real stick in the mud, pain in the ass, unwilling to negotiate with the owners. It's billionaires arguing with millionaires over billions of dollars. We all get it, and it annoys the piss out of all of us. But a guy like Tony Clark, who is just a staunch, stick in the mud, was never going to get anything done. The hope is that with him gone now, amongst this scandal where he was apparently something with his sister-in-law, and she had a job with the MLBPA, and I don't know if he was diddling her or whatever the fuck was going on, but he's been, he stepped down, right?
Can't fire me if I quit.
Yeah, read between the lines. Some dirty shit was going on there.
Okay.
So they're under new leadership now on the MLBPA side. So the hope is that they can get some shit done. And the sport desperately needs the cap and the floor. The floor, in my opinion, is more important. They're both important, but I believe the floor to be more important. I don't know if everybody, if you guys are aware of the basics of how salary kind of works with MLB right now. There is a luxury tax threshold, right? It's basically they tried to use it as a soft. They tried to use it as that. Yeah. You go over that, you get penalized. You go over it a certain, even more, you get penalized harder. You stay over it, you get penalized harder, and so on and so forth. The idea with that is the penalty money goes into a pool, which is then dispersed amongst your small market teams. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Tampa Bay, teams like that. The problem is there's really no structure there forcing those small market owners to turn around and invest that back on the field. So the model really doesn't work because it doesn't force them to do that. And the teams that can afford to go over that threshold don't give a shit, right? The Dodgers don't care. The Phillies don't care. The Yankees don't care. The Red Sox, the Cubs, the Braves, the Mets, none of them care. They're just going to go over it and say the hell with it. So the structure sucks. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. The gap between the haves and have-nots has never been bigger than it is now, and it's only going to get worse unless you put some structure in place. Problem is, these two sides don't get along. So enjoy this year because I have a really bad feeling that there's going to – I do not believe the 2027 season will start on time. You shut up in there! I think my family just pulled back in the driveway, so that's why he's freaking out. But, that gap has never been wider. And, I don't believe the 2027 season will start on time. That would be big trouble for the sport overall. They've made great strides over the last few years with different events. The All-Star game was a slam dunk last year. All of that, the Field of Dreams games, the Rickwood Field game, all of the Bristol Motor Speedway game, everything heading in the right direction. The pitch clock comes in, speeds the game up, makes it a better, a more enjoyable watch for a lot of folks, keeps it from being a 4-hour event. It's fucking dog. So it'd be a real shame if they flushed all that just based on the fact that we want to put some structure on salary in place. But I think that's where we're headed. And so spring training starts tomorrow. Mason, I don't know how well versed you are in all that stuff. We've not really talked baseball before. We haven't really had the opportunity to. But, what are your opinions on all of that? All that spiel I just threw out there.
So admittedly, I'm not a big baseball guy. My brother is a lot bigger baseball guy, and we kind of inherited from my grandfather. And so regarding baseball itself, there is all of the major sports. There's only two leagues that have what's called a hard cap. And that is the NFL and the NHL, which is kind of funny because they're almost the kind of polar opposites in terms of popularity. And if you ever looked at the salaries that some of the best hockey players get, it makes you really arch an eyebrow. Baseball and the NBA have a lot of similarities and are really different in a lot of ways. They're, of course, both. NBA kind of has a soft cap as well, but in baseball, in baseball, these billionaires will just write blank checks that that'll make Vince McMahon blush. And so, and so I initially, when you said that the salary cap floor was more important than the ceiling, I really wasn't sure where you're going with that, but the way you kind of described it actually makes a lot more sense, because it does kind of seem in the current system, it's a really easy way for smaller name billionaires to kind of just buy a team, farm it off of the big guys, and just kind of gravy train. Especially if they don't have to reinvest the money into the team, they can just pocket the money at the Dodgers, at the Phillies, at the Mets. The bigger teams are all just fishing into the league, and then it just kind of fucks over the smaller. Fucks over the smaller teams. So I actually think having that floor actually is rather interesting. Of course, all the eyes are going to be on a ceiling, a hard cap, to see if you limit a team like the Dodgers, if you limit a team like the Phillies, if you limit a team like the Mets, as you said. I think that's what's going to get a lot more headlines. But I think regarding the floor, I think that's a really interesting idea. And as with all things, when you force people to actually reinvest and be participating members of a league, some guys who have it the easy way aren't going to like that, and they're going to make a lot bigger of a freak out than the Dodgers are if there's a hard ceiling.
Yeah, very well said. So another part of this, in my opinion, would be, you see what the Dodgers are doing with all the deferred money, right? So Shohei Ohtani, what is it? Some 500 or 680 of the $700 million is all going to be paid to him after he retires.
Oh yeah, baseball loves that
bullshit. That shit has to stop. That has to stop.
Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yeah. That's the only one that's allowed to keep happening. But overall, it's a bad practice, right? Now, look, if a team wants to do that, okay, let's say we do get a cap and floor in place, right? Fine. You're obviously going to have to give teams a few years to work themselves back into that structure, right? Because some of them are going to be way the fuck over,
right?
Dodgers, the Yankees, the Phillies, everybody, right? So just like football did 30 years ago, you're going to have to give some of these teams some time to work themselves back under that threshold. The deferred money, if you'd like to do that, that's your choice. But the average annual value of those contracts needs to be counted against your cap year over year. Just because you can defer and only pay the guy $2 million a year, the contract is worth $70 million a year. That's what you count against your cap.
Okay.
I don't think you should be allowed to get away with all of this shit without some sort of. Otherwise, what's the point in even having it, right? Like, I'll just defer it all and keep kicking the can down the road and fuck it. Like,
so do you mean if, for example, I'm trying to, let's do it like this. So you have a guy who signs a $70 million extension for, let's say, 1 year, $70 million, right? Mm-hmm. And you can either pay them $70 million in that 1 year and take a $70 million cap hit, or take the $70 million cap hit but pay him $5 million for 14 years.
Yeah, however you want to pay him, but you signed him to a 1 year deal worth $70 million.
Okay.
Right? If you want to kick the can on the payments, that's on you.
Okay.
But your cap requirement is that 1 year, $70 million.
Versus spreading that out as well?
Yeah, I don't think you should be allowed. Like, we'll just take the Shohei contract for an example. 10 years, $700 million. Their cap hit every year should be the average annual value of the contract. Whether they're paying him all that year or not, that's the cap hit. Otherwise, you're still cheating it, right? If I sign a guy to 10 years, $700 million, and I'm going to pay him $680 million after he retires, which is how this Shohei's contract is right now, which means I've got the best player in baseball for $2 million against my cap every year. That is fucking bullshit and should not happen.
I can see that argument. I do think that it's almost kind of parallel to what the NFL does in terms of void years. Of course, void years are typically like 3, maybe 5 years, the most extreme lengths. But they're just there to kind of stretch out the cap money. Of course, teams aren't adding 20, 30 years of void years like Sir Bobby Bonilla has. But regardless, I understand your point in terms of like paying a guy, paying the bet. Like if you sign a guy to a 2-year deal for $100 million, so you had to pay a 50 twice, and you just spread that out over 50 years. You do 2 million for 50 years. There's something about that goes against the competitive nature. I'm not against it in principle, though. What I would be okay with, and I would consider, and I would be interested if you would accept this, would be a compromise, something like I'm trying to think of like maybe max of 10 years or 20 years, maybe max, that you could defer someone for. Because I don't disagree with like accounting practices. I don't want to fault teams for being clever with accounting purposes.
No.
Because with every CBA, someone's going to get fucked. And so it only makes sense to give the general managers something to kind of give themselves a little bit of an edge there. And so I don't dislike Bobby Bonilla Day in and of itself, but I do see the growing problem of signing a guy 2 years, 100 million, but paying him 2 million for 50 years. That's obviously kind of bullshit. But I think if you want to do like 10 or 20 years, I think that could be happy medium.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not trying to tell a team when to pay a guy. What I'm saying is you've got to take the cap hit for that guy while he's playing. You got to take the cap hit for the value of the contract, not what you're going to pay him kicking cans down the road.
Well, you know that's what makes Howie Roseman so good, though, is that he stretches
football
out
contracts
that cap
are
hit.
different, though. Football contracts are different, though, and maybe MLB needs to take that kind of model. I honestly wish they would. Right? I think the NFL model is pretty good, man, and I would like to see baseball do that, where your owner can dip into some escrow, pay out a big old signing bonus, so that the year-over-year contract, it's kind of peanuts, right? And you stay under that.
Sure, but you still have the accounting numbers that you have to take up with. So if you like, for example, if the audience is not familiar, what basically happens when you restructure someone. So let's say you have somebody making $25 million, but 20 million is in the bonus and 5 million is in the salary. By restructuring, let's say you take 15 of that 20 million and you put that into the salary. Or you would take it would be the other way around. You would take like a $20 million salary and you would put it into the bonus. Because what happens with the bonus is that you can prorate that over maximum of 5 years. And so the problem with that is, yes, you get to take 20 million and stretch it out over 5 years, but it also means that you have to pay that player money as opposed to if you're making 20 salary, 5 bonus, and you cut a player, you save 15 million because you still have to pay that bonus, but you get to save another 20 salary. If you restructure someone which we've always done with Lane Johnson, which I've always been like, you know what, with as much as it's almost like a tradition, Philadelphia tradition, always restructuring Lane Johnson's contract every single year. We're just kind of, because if we cut Lane Johnson, we're fucked. We have a lot of bonus money that we need to pay him, and it's going to have to come in that year or maybe spill over to the next one. So with the NFL, you're right in terms of cash being different from cap, but the general managers are also still very suave in terms of playing funny book math and stretching those guys out. Void years being a great example.
Well, and you're still going to get that, regardless of what type of cap and floor structure gets put in place in baseball, you're going to have guys that figure out a way to massage those areas, right? It's going to happen. Sure. But the shit that the Dodgers are doing right now, you can't allow that kind of shit to continue. It's too much, right? They're doing this and there's no structure on it. It's almost like NCAA players getting paid. It's the fucking Wild West. They're just doing whatever they want, and there's nothing there stopping them. Now, I don't fault the Dodgers because they're able to do it, and there's no rule stopping them from doing it. And if you're going to have a work stoppage next year, you may as well just keep cashing it all in now and get another ring while you're at it. which is why I was very surprised that we didn't hear more about the Phillies going hard after Bo Bichette. I know Chris Sack was not happy about that outcome. None of you should be. The fact that he's a Met now. But I thought that going into this offseason, you'd see more teams at the top of the market, Phillies, Yankees, Cubs, those teams. I thought you'd see more of those teams really going for it with the impending doom of this collective bargaining agreement coming at the end of the year.
So what would be your limit in terms of how much you could stretch the cap hit for in baseball?
And it's tough because you look at the Dodgers as the standard for what's going on.
You said you don't have problems with the cash portion.
No,
you just have problems with the cap portion.
I do. I think there's got to be some sort of penalty against your cap.
Right. So what would your limit be?
So I would structure it the same way that football does. Right. So if I signed a guy to 10, so I think what else will help with this is you won't see these 10-year god awful $500, $600, $7 million contracts, which are fucking insane. Right. You'll see more of your football type contracts, 5 years,
4 years,
250, right? A big bonus up front, smooth out the cap hit. But if you were to cut that guy, you get whacked with that cap hit, right? Like use AJ Brown as the example.
Guaranteed money.
If we were to trade him prior to June 1st,
that's right.
His cap hit doubles, and it makes no fiscal sense. But if you trade him after June 1st, you actually save, what is it, like $7 or $8 million? Again, just so everybody knows, I am not advocating to trade AJ Brown. Just using it as an example.
Allegedly.
Don't freak out on me. But no, that sort of structure is what I would rather see. Ultimately, though, baseball just needs some sort of salary cap and floor structure, I think, to honestly save the longevity of the sport. Otherwise, this gap between the haves and have-nots is just going to continue to do this as it has been going for a while. Look at a team like the Pirates. Paul Skeens may very well be the best pitcher in baseball, right? Him and Tarek Skubal, or at least best young pitcher, right? They're never going to be able to hang on to him. Not a fucking chance. They're better off trading him now while the acquiring team would still have some team control over him before he hits arbitration and becomes a free agent, because then his value is higher. And then they can get a higher return. It's not good for the sport, right? The sport is better when there's more parity. And the NFL's proved it. When they put that cap structure in place back in the mid-90s.
Yep.
It changed.
The first class was Reggie White.
It changed everything. Right? Like, you've got parity now, unless you're just bad ownership, which we've talked about ad nauseum.
Did you ever hear of the free agency story of Reggie White and Mike Holmgren?
Yeah.
Yeah. For anybody who hasn't heard it, Reggie White.
Go ahead. Tell the story.
Reggie White was a very, very religious man. Very, very religious man. And so Reggie White,
Minister of Defense.
And so Reggie White was entering free agency. It was the premier year of free agency. And Mike Holmgren calls Reggie White on his phone, and he leaves a voicemail. And he goes, "Reggie, this is God. Come to Green Bay."
All right. So, that was kind of my baseball rant there for a minute.
Yeah.
We'll get into more as the season gets closer, as things take off. I know Phillies wise. And one question I do have for you before we hop over to football, and then we're going to hop over to football. Bryce Harper. Okay. He's been a DH since 2022.
Right.
That's really all he's been. He has loudly whispered about wanting contract restructure and stuff like that.
Right.
But really hasn't been the player that you thought you were getting. He was the 1 year you pushed to the World Series. Excellent postseason. He's won an MVP award, but he's not been that guy in a few years now. You still got him for, I think it's another 7 years on that contract. and he's 33 years old. He'll turn 34 in October. Do the Phillies, in your opinion, now have a Bryce Harper problem?
These are the problems with these long contracts. I honestly don't know how even like a sport like hockey makes them work. I mean, hockey used to do deals like 12 years. Like, how the hell do you do 12 years? I think if I'm not wrong, Bryce Harper's was 13 for 330.
There was something like that.
Something like that. I would think he signed that back when I was, I think, in middle school, and I'm a college graduate.
Jesus Christ!
I'm a college graduate now. Okay, that's how much time's gone by. All right. Sorry to age anyone watching, but
in case all you guys couldn't feel worse about yourselves.
No, but I mean, I'm not too familiar in terms of how baseball contracts work and in terms of what his exact contract is. I'm not sure how much of a debt bomb Bryce may or may not be, but these are the risks you take in these types of long baseball marriages in terms of these contracts. And so we're smack dab in the middle of it. And I mean, like you said, we've had some really bright moments. I remember, was it 2022 when we went to the World Series and we lost to the Astros.
The assholes.
And we've had a few sparks here and there, but of course, no ring, which is really the only thing that matters. Listen, when you signed Bryce Harper, back when we did, you are aware that with Bryce Harper, you get the highs, the very high highs, and the very low lows. And if you can weather the lows and you can save the highs, then it kind of averages out in the middle and you just kind of get Bryce Harper. So if you're halfway through and you're starting to get a little buyer's remorse, like I said, I'm not too familiar in terms of how the MLB works its contracts and what the exact aspects of Bryce Harper's contracts might be. I'm not sure how much of a dead bomb he is, but if you want to, I mean, he's not that much on the books compared to what some other guys are making. And so if you just want to sit on him because of that might be worth it. But if you don't have a very good outlook on Bryce Harper going to the future, you might just kind of look around and see what kind of offers you might get from him.
And I think that's part of the issue. Is this a guy who's not really proven to be able to stay on the field much the last couple of years, right? He's pretty much been relegated to first base now, which I think hurts your overall roster. God bless him for being a good enough athlete to make that transition, right? First base is a much more difficult position to play than people give it credit for. And to transition from the outfield to that spot, pretty impressive. It's a big athletic move. But, the fact remains he's a first baseman / DH at this point. Right. Kyle Schwarber is better served as a DH than he is an outfielder, right? He's not a good outfielder. Adolis Garcia has a massive arm in right field, but he's an average defender.
Right.
You wouldn't have had to go get him if Harper could have been playing right field, right?
Right.
I was looking, and that's why I was interested in your opinion, because I know you're Philly guy, so I don't know that the Phillies don't have a Harper issue at this point. Now, time will tell. He could come out this year, bash 40 homers, and win another fucking MVP. And then, hey, it's not his fault. Whatever. But if he comes out again this year, and we're talking a 270 average with 27 homers and 85 RBIs, this is not the 13 for 330 you guys thought you were getting. And I'll double down on it. When they signed him to that contract, I thought it was a steal, to be honest with you. To the point where I looked at it as, did they manage to do that so that they could also then go after Mike Trout and put both of them in their outfield? Ultimately, Trout decides to stay in Anaheim
LA.
Because, whatever. I guess he just doesn't want the pressure. He could have signed that big-ass deal wherever the hell he wanted to. And he chose to stay there.
He's Mike Trout. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Mm-hmm. But all right, that was kind of my spiel there. Wanted your opinion on Harper. And we'll talk more about that, especially as the season gets going. The last thing that Harper can afford is a really slow start. He's got to come out of the gates hot, in my opinion.
Especially when you're also sharing a lineup with a guy like Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, I mean, Schwarb's just, he's back. That's probably the last contract he's going to sign.
Yeah,
right? He had suitors after that huge season he just had. Speaking of suitor, ask Dave Dombrowski if Philly has a Harper issue. Oh, shut up, Josh. That's enough out of you. 40 minutes later, baseball's over. Lou from Dade, are you guys going to trade A.J. Brown? I would not.
All right.
I wouldn't do it. I've given my opinion out here before, so has Mason. And so we'll back it up again. Lou from Dade, by the way, 305 Sports Travel. If you know one of Miami Dolphins fans, send them his way. They've got a really good thing going on down there in South Beach. So kudos to our brother. But to answer his question, I would not trade him. What I would do, and I've said this on here before, we have a new offensive coordinator now. And I would have that offensive coordinator go talk to his team. Right? These are the things I want to do.
Ideally, you would have had him do this already.
I agree. And maybe it has happened. Who the fuck knows? But
that's right. Who the hell knows?
But that was my thought from the start. You hire the offensive coordinator, you let him go and talk to Jalen, talk to Saquon, talk to Smitty, talk to AJ. Those are your core guys, right? We don't know what's going to go on with Goddard. So, talk to the offensive line. That's the core of your team right there on the offensive side anyways. And just take a pulse, right? Hey, guys, this is what I see. This is what I want to do with the offense coming this season. These are the things I see, maybe some problems that are glaring. I think all of us could pick that low-hanging goddamn fruit from last year's offense, right? And let him give. And if he doesn't get the feeling that AJ's bought in, then maybe you do look to trade after June 1st. It won't be before June 1st.
Yeah.
Overall, the best case scenario is AJ Brown is still wearing Eagle green next year. You're still in your championship window. You're not going to be able to replace that talent level. You're just not. And while you're still in your championship window, it's not a great look to get rid of a guy with that level of talent, unless he is literally locker room cancer, which is possible.
Yeah. So the time period I grew up, the kind of football drama that made the biggest impact on me was the Pittsburgh Steelers with Ben, Bell, and Brown. I kind of watched that whole thing develop when I was in high school. Kind of probably like, what do the Steelers do with Antonio? He's Antonio Brown. I mean, at the time, Antonio Brown was a bona fide future Hall of Famer.
No question.
And he was the guy in the league. And so he was like, well, how much of a cancer does the guy need to be before you drop him? When his name's Antonio Brown or his name's Le'Veon Bell. And so that's kind of had a lasting impact on me in terms of how I look to approach potential locker room issues and rifts and all that kind of stuff. I think you're right in terms of there's a chance that we could trade AJ Brown so like I was reading ESPN earlier today, and they're coming up with different trade options for AJ Brown. And one of them was like the Browns first round pick, but that's 24. And so if we do trade AJ Brown before June 1st, it has to be for a pretty damn good first round pick.
Oh, you can't
if we trade him at all.
You can't you can't do it before June 1st. You just can't. It's salary cap suicide.
So for that reason, I think you're right in terms of if it does happen, it would be after June 1st. Nonetheless, I don't really see it as a worst case scenario if we do. I really don't. I think that if there's anything that's more important than an individual's contributions to a team, it is the cohesiveness of the team's culture. And that is sacrosanct. You cannot ruffle those feathers. Because once you do, you lose not only that player and that connection to the team, but you ruin
lose the
every
locker room.
other player's connections to the team.
Yep.
And you can't do that. So if it gets remotely that close, you really have to seriously consider that. And I wouldn't lose sleep over trading AJ Brown if it got remotely to that point, because you just do not mess with that. That being said, I don't
over it. It would have to be after June 1st.
Right. I don't fret or I don't lose sleep over like, okay, if we trade Brown, who are he replacing him with? In sports, you don't replace one guy with another. What you do is you turn one team into another. We won't be a team that lost AJ Brown and then replaced A with B. What we will be is a team that traded AJ Brown. Now Smith has a little bit of a larger role in the offense. Whoever we get for AJ Brown has a little bit of has a much smaller part of the offense than AJ Brown used to have. And then the kind of contributions to the offense gets reallocated in that way. So I'm not really focusing too much on what exactly we'd be replacing him with. It's all Sean Mannion's vision of, okay, listen, this is how I want to do my offense. Right now with Brown, I could make it work. But if let's say we traded AJ Brown, we got a first round pick, and let's say we got another receiver as well somehow, right? Well, I can also use this receiver in a way that's not as good as AJ Brown, but because I would have Smith and I would have maybe another receiver we draft and we draft in either day 2 or day 3, or receiver we picked up in free agency, maybe I can actually make it work in a way that the parts combine to a larger whole than the sum of its parts. And so just because of that, if he does get traded, it's going to be after June 1st. You have to prioritize the culture over any player's individual feelings. And if that comes to fruition, you got to drop him like a bad habit, and you got to let Sean Mannion take control of the offense, because that's what you're paying him to do.
Yeah, that's kind of the point in wanting him to, go and sit and talk to these guys, right? Like, he needs to know that everyone's buying into what he's selling, right? And if they're not, then they don't. Then all that's going to be is a locker room cancer, and you can't have that. You just can't do it. Right?
The head chef has to interview the galley.
That's it. Well, at least you don't have a Patullo problem anymore. That's a Finn's issue now. Very true. He's Patullo hop ship down to South Beach as what is it? The pass game coordinator?
Yep.
Or quarterback coach down there? Yeah.
Pass game coordinator, which is a glorified offensive coordinator.
Right. Josh, Mason, I get what you're saying, but if AJ goes, we'll still need to get another receiver with size. For that role, Smitty isn't big enough for contested balls. And that's very true.
I don't think
you would need a possession. You'd have to go get a possession receiver. Now, it doesn't have to be some giant. And much to Mason's point, you're not going to replace AJ Brown, right? There's not a whole lot of 6'1", 230-pound wide receivers with that much God-given athletic ability out there. There's just not. So what you would do is, like Mason alluded to, Smitty would take on a much larger role, right? Which I think he's more than capable of doing. But you would need that bigger, stronger receiver on the other side to get some of those contested, say, third down catches to convert first downs, right? You need that guy. You're not going to replace A.J. Brown, so you'd have to tailor your offense around Smitty's now my number 1. Who is my number 2 that can just give me some hands catches throughout the course of a game? That's the way I would look at it.
I agree with that part. What I would die on the hill of is I think that we're grossly underestimating Devontae Smith as a contested receiver. Between AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, there's not a receiver on this team with better hands than Devontae Smith. Hands down, bar none.
Forget just hands. Smitty's the most technically sound wide receiver on the roster.
He makes catches that defy his frame. Okay, so
the problem is he's about the same size as my son. I mean, it's just the fucking truth, dude. Like, he's just not a big guy.
I don't fear not having the archetypal guy there. Listen, you're not like you said, you're not going to find an exact clone of AJ Brown, but you also don't need an exact clone of AJ Brown in order to win this. You don't need it. I'm just kind of flashing through my mind over kind of past Super Bowl winners and what kind of guys did they have. Rashee Rice is remarkably close in terms of the kind of role that I think that a lot of us wish that AJ would play a lot more. I mean, if you get AJ going on a drag route with momentum and open space, that's when he's most dangerous.
And therein lies some of the scheme problem that we've seen, where they don't scheme well to create that space for AJ to run into.
Exactly. And I think a really big point of this whole conversation, and we also have to take into account, we're not really going to see until training camp, is what exactly Sean Mannion's offense is going to look like.
Very true.
Because once we see that, then we'll say, okay, well, this AJ Brown is a lot different from the 2024 AJ Brown that Kellen Moore was working with. In Sean Mannion's offense, he really doesn't have as much of a, larger value, not value, but.
Well, we don't have anything to worry about here. Keenan signed AJ up for a new book club. He'll be a different guy next season. Josh had a follow-up talking about a big possession receiver. He says there's one in Pittsburgh right now. He's talking about DK Metcalf. I don't think that's the move, although DK is a fucking physical freak.
He is. And he's really fast. He's fast.
He
ran a 4.33.
6'4", 230 pounds. The problem is he's a head case and he punches fans. That's not a good look.
He fit right in. He fit. No, bro. You don't need to sell me. Stop selling me on this guy.
Russ Taylor, die on a hill. Things I'll die on a hill for. Boneless wings are chicken nuggets. Fanny. AJ is a bully of the ball where Smitty is the finesser. And it's true. AJ can outmuscle. It's very true. We all know. Look, guys, we're beating a dead horse here, right? We all know the differences between these two, right? Smitty they list him at, I think, 6 foot, 170 pounds. I would tell you he's probably more like 5'10 to 5'11, 160, right? That's probably more accurate.
That boy does acrobatics, bro.
Yeah. So Smitty is your best route runner. He is the way he's able to contort his body, the field awareness, the hands, all of that, right? He's the total package as a technically sound wide receiver. He's just small.
Sheer talent, yeah.
It's just small. AJ Brown, on the other hand, still runs decent routes, has good hands when he's not head out of the game. And he can outmuscle literally any corner in the league. Yeah. There's not a corner in football that would outmuscle him if he was motivated to go get the ball.
Sure.
That's the difference between the two, and we all know it, right? So there's no keep beating that to death. That being said, the draft will probably tell you something, right? If we happen to pick
free agency, I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Free agency draft. If we happen to take a 3rd round pick on a 6'1" or 6'2" wide receiver, I would tell you, AJ Brown, you're on the clock.
Yeah.
You better straighten up and fly right real quick, dude. You're going to be out. But ultimately, I don't see that happening. And I just don't. I think they'll figure it out, and maybe that's just me being an optimist over it. Because I do think this team, when AJ's right up here and he's not being a fucking pain in the ass, this team is obviously way better with him on the field. I don't think it's a question, right? So that's what you have to hope for as a fan. You don't want to trade him. If you end up having to, for all the reasons Mason and I have already talked about, then you do it after June 1st and you get what you can get. And you try to find a suitable possession receiver to take some of that front away. That's all.
I think one of the most drastic differences in terms of Brown and Smith among the many of them, I think the one that really separate them as receivers is that I don't think there's a weak route that Smith has.
There's not.
On the other hand, though, AJ Brown kind of has Calvin Johnson syndrome, and I mean that in the best way possible. DK Metcalf suffers the exact same thing. They are only good on like 4 routes, but on those 4 routes, they are like Hall of
They're
Fame.
Hall of Fame level talent. Yeah, I know.
And so,
Go route.
when you think of Calvin Johnson, there's like 3 routes you think of, and that's it: the go route, the slant route, and the drag route.
Yep.
You're not putting Calvin on no comeback. You're not putting Calvin on no in and out. You're not putting Calvin on this juking corner route. No, you're saying you're going to leverage your body on a slant. You're going to run past him on the go, or you're going to run past him on the drag. And you're 6'5", you're 6'4", 230. Run
Mike Evans. Mike Evans the same way. It's literally the same
exactly.
thing. Somebody mentioned Tyreek Hill. Lou. Speaking of head cases, Tyreek is available. Yeah, hard pass.
I heard T.O.
I'm not trading one diva for a bigger diva. I'm good. But
we can fix him.
Yeah, put the AJ Brown thing to bed. That's going to work itself out over the next couple of months here. What does need to work itself out now is the fact that we have heard now that both Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson intend to be on the field this year. Obviously, everybody breathes a big sigh of relief with that. However, these are two guys. You got Lane Johnson coming back for his 14th season.
Guy won't die.
It's just like, but if you won't die, but if you look at the Eagles' record since he's been on the roster, the Eagles' record when he's not on the field sucks. Landon Dickerson, we all know how talented he is, but again, his injuries go all the way back to Bama. And, the scary thought there was, could both of them end up retiring sometime during this offseason? I didn't think Lane was going to. I was very concerned that we would lose Dickerson. Now, they both said they're coming back. They've both been very injury prone over the last couple of years. So regardless of what kind of play we get out of them this year, the farm needs to be restocked. And come draft day, I forget who it was earlier in the room, how he goes from the trenches outward. We need to stick with that. And in particular with that first round picking 23rd overall. I don't know if you had a couple. I got 2 guys here that one of our folks out here threw at me late last week, early this week, that should be available late first round. So you've got Max, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Iheanachor. I'm an anchor. I don't know what the fuck it is.
I'm an anchor.
6'5", 325-pound tackle. Arizona State.
Okay.
The overview on him: ascending traits, heavy tackle prospect, former high school basketball player, latecomer to football. There's been a lot of stories about guys like that. Antonio Gates was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Has good length and excellent lean mass. His hands and footwork need refinement, but his range and play strength should translate to any run scheme. There is work to do with pass protection technique, but strong performances against Texas Tech's rush. Texas Tech's defense was actually pretty solid. Their front was good last year. Strong performances against that duo last season and at the Senior Bowl suggest he might be more game ready than previously anticipated. In a year light on high-end tackles, his measurables, athleticism, and upside could push him up the board. He's projected as a late first, early second round, which fits. We're down in the bottom third of the first round, picking 23rd overall. Strengths: impressive blend of size and athletic ability, lateral quickness, and body control made for an outside zone scheme. Adequate timing and technique on combo blocks. Basketball feet to mirror rushers and off-ball linebackers. I love that line. Displayed his potential against dynamic rush duo from Texas Tech. Twitchy pass slides and adequate range to meet speed. So you get that speed rush on the outside. He's able to stick with it. Rush anchor will set in once footwork improves, which they talked about earlier. Dominant at times during Senior Bowl practices. His weaknesses, hitch in his punch causes his hands to ride outside the frame, which is trouble because then you end up grabbing, and that's where the holding calls come from.
You also leave
Struggles.
your chest wide open to bullet
You
rush.
leave your chest wide open to get punched. Struggles with protection recognition against gaming fronts. I think that's just coachable. Wide hands open him up for holding penalties. So basketball player, 6'5"
Which is what you just
guy,
said.
Yeah. Needs better pad level to improve leverage as a drive blocker. Shoves second level blocks instead of sticking and sustaining. So he doesn't rely a lot on his size and power.
Yeah, I mean that pad level is going to be because he's 6'6". So.
Right. But, projected as a late first, early second round. And the overall rating on him is that he will eventually be a plus starter. That's exactly what we're looking for here. Now, the versatility isn't there. He looks to be strictly a tackle.
Right.
But a right tackle, which is what, obviously we're not worried about left tackle right now. It's the right tackle position that's the bigger problem. The other one I've got here is Caleb Lomu from Utah. He was a redshirt sophomore, 6'6", 308. So not the weight.
Lomu, you said?
Yeah, Lomu. Yep. 308 pounds. Yeah, he could get shoved around a little bit, but his overview. Where was that? Yeah. 2-year starting left tackle who is still in the early stages of his development. Utah's run game leaned heavily on movement and misdirection. Sound familiar? Preventing Lomu from firing out and showing his power. His run blocking trails his pass protection, but improved pad level and a nastier demeanor could help close the gap. I don't really care for that line. I want my offensive linemen to already possess a nasty demeanor. Right? I mean, they're out there doing all the dirty work. In protection, he shows good balance with adequate foot quickness, landing quick, well-timed punches, and using a firm grip to control rushers once he's in. His anchor was rarely stressed by power, and his athletic recoveries are average. Lomu flashes, but is still under construction. His play could improve rapidly with strength gains and additional coaching. And that last line there is the part where I would be most concerned in the fact that we don't have Stout there anymore, right?
Sounds like a boomer bust guy, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep. Strengths, good frame with room for more muscle mass. Obviously, he's 308 pounds on a 6'6" frame, so he's got room to grow. Very athletic getting out of the stance and to lead pulls or cutoff blocks. Activates hands with good quickness in both phases. Core strength to keep from having his pads rattled on contact. Pass sets with good posture, rarely ducking head and leaning. Uses different punch approaches and times them well to maximize his length. Obviously, 6'6", he's out here. Shows ability to gather and control rushers with strong grip. Sifts through games and blitzes and responds with no panic. That's good.
I'm assuming by games, they mean like stunts and stuff.
Yeah. His weaknesses, gallops and opens his outer half too quickly against speed rushers. Better harmony needed between his hands and feet. Footwork can get sloppy, mirroring inside moves and counters, which is basically the opposite of what Max's thing was, right? He's strong in that area. This guy's needs some work. Still learning to find lateral landmarks in the run game. Can be out of control and miss his positioning when fitting run blocks. Needs to keep improving upper body strength, below average with sustain and finish consistency. Look, I mean, he's a little bit more of a project. A little bit more of a project. The first guy fits more the run attack, which is where I'd rather see the Eagles lean more into. But they don't grade out that much differently. Both projected to be, solid starters at some point in their careers. Obviously, coaching has something to do with that. And we don't have Stout anymore. So you're starting with an offensive lineman. I don't think you can go anywhere else but there, unless anything at that spot is a huge reach. You're taking a lineman.
Yeah, I think you definitely take the first guy there. The second guy scares me a lot more than I initially kind of thought. The more I read it, and the reason why is Jordan Mailata came from rugby. He had a lot of physical talent coming into here, and he'd never really played football until he was really kind of drafted. We just kind of saw what he did in rugby and like, you know what? I think the chances of him kind of translating are pretty good. I think a lot of his transitory success comes from the hands of Jeff Stoutland. I think Jeff Stoutland had a unique ability to really not coalesce and to mold and to hone and to sharpen the raw talents into a chiseled, defined tone player. I think without Stoutland, you're a lot less likely to kind of go ahead and take those risks. And because of that, you might want to play a little bit of a safer bet and go with the first guy. That's just my thoughts, and I don't know if it's a hot take, but
no, I don't think it's a hot take, dude. I think you're spot on. You know, Max, and I'm not going to even try with his last name anymore. To be honest with you, the NFL.com grade out is higher for Caleb than it was for Max. I like Max's measurables as they stand right now for our team more than I like it. Because that's a lot what it's about too. You know, this guy, Caleb could end up with a better career if he's on a team that more fits his style, right? You know, Max, I think, fits our
or who can develop him
more.
Who can
develop him. Very, very true. Yep. What kind of system is he in? Right? Is it a system where the
although I will say, if you pick a guy like Caleb, and of course, you're going to sit him for a year behind Lane. You might give him some reps at right guard, depending on if we get Mackay back from LA. It largely depends. If you sit Caleb behind Lane, you hope and you pray every single day that some of that Lane Johnson sprinkles down on Caleb a little bit. Of course, you're not going to have Jeff Stoutland to kind of cultivate and foster and nurture and grow him. So you're really going to put a lot of eggs in that basket. But the other guy definitely has a higher floor, but a lower ceiling.
Yeah,
and when you lose a guy like Jeff Stoutland, you're more likely to take those wagers.
Yep. Yeah, I like the guy with. I mean, I like the more. I just think Max fits our style a little bit better, right? And then that's just my opinion because I think the Eagles should lean more into the run game, right? Something else that we probably need to address here is, and I'm not trying. I don't know if Roger's out there listening, but Roger, if you are, I'm not trying to pick on you here. You were just like the third person that had brought it up to me today about the wide receiver 3 position on our roster. All right. Now, the room knows this. Mason, I can't recall if we've discussed this since you've been out here with me. But so everyone understands the wide receiver 3 on our roster is oftentimes option number 5 in a drop back pass, right? A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley is ahead of them. And by the time you have to get to your 5th progression, it's time to get the fuck out of the pocket, right? Like, you got to get out of here. So that's why the wide receiver 3 continues to be this revolving door, because it's just not a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've had very talented tight end, right?
Yeah.
And you have a guy like Dallas Goedert who can go out there and be, not only a good blocker, but also a large wide receiver.
Yeah.
You don't really have as much of a pressing need for that wide receiver 3 spot. So I understand where everybody thinks we're just, we wasted Jahan Dotson, we wasted this and that. Guys, understand that the opportunities in what our offense has been over the last 5 years, the opportunities for wide receiver 3 are just not there all that often. They're just not. Now, Quez Watkins had some moments. I get it. But it's just not a big role in our offense, right? Here and there, they'll drop a play in where he's the number 1 option, and it catches people off guard.
Yeah,
happened right out of the gates in the Super Bowl where Dotson damn near scored a touchdown, right? But by and large, it's not to this point, has not been a hugely important spot on that roster. And my personal opinion is I don't want it to be, because if they make that a bigger role, it means they're leaning more into a passing attack, which I do not believe is the strength of this offense. And I don't think it ever will be as long as Jalen Hurts is the quarterback.
No, I want everyone to consider this real quick. When you have an offense that contains A.J. Brown, that contains Devontae Smith, that contains Dallas Goedert, that contains Saquon Barkley, are you really going to cry that you don't hear Jahan Dotson's name all that often on Sundays?
That's exactly it. It's like guys, I get it, but come on.
I would be upset if I heard his name more than the other guys. I'm not saying that Jahan Dotson, he gets 5 receptions and it's time to trade A.J. Brown. What I'm saying is the wide receiver 3 is a position that's supposed to keep the defense honest. Okay. It's supposed to be like, okay, he's on a hitch. And you're sinking deep because we're sending Brown on the go. We're sending Smith on the corner, and we're putting Dotson on the hitch to keep you honest. Yep. That's the wide receiver 3. When you have stacked offenses, you're not going to – if you have a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, and then whatever, one of those cars isn't getting driven, okay? And God forbid we don't use a Toyota just as much as we use a Lamborghini or Ferrari. Okay, I'm sorry.
Look, I like Jahan Dotson, right? I'm a Penn State fan.
I love Hondas too. Dotson. I love Hondas.
I like Jahan Dotson. I liked him at Penn State. I'm a Penn State fan. My thoughts were always that he was never going to be more than a wide receiver 3 in the NFL. The Redskins drafted him to be the number 2 to Scary Terry, and it didn't work. Now, some of that had to do with the quarterback. I get it. But McLaurin still figured out a way to help his numbers. Dotson is not a number 2. He's not more than a number 3 wide receiver. That's what he is in the NFL. You can have him return punts if you want, but he's not anything more. If he's a wide receiver 2 on your roster, you've got wide receiver problems. Is the way I would describe it, right? And it's not a knock on the guy. He just is what he is. He's never going to be more than that.
When you go back to 2017, you have Alshon, you have an aging Brent Selleck, but you also have, first of all, that tight end room in 2017 was loaded. You have Ertz, Prime, you have Burton, and you have Selleck. You have Alshon, MVP candidate Carson Wentz. We also have Torrey Smith.
There it is, folks. We got him.
Torrey Smith, you have Nelson Aguilar. You had a committee running everything.
With Nelson Aguilar. That guy fucking cleared the stone hands. But Torrey Smith was underrated on that roster that year.
He was. He was a ring chaser, but he was a ring chaser, but we respect the ring chasers.
Yeah, we were fine with it as long as it contributes to getting the damn ring.
But Dotson, number 3 receiver, it's a revolving door for a reason. It's a very simple role. The job description is very limited. Okay. I know it's a tough job market out there, but Philadelphia Eagles, wide receiver 3, it's pretty available. Okay. Let's be honest here. So like I said, you have a Ferrari, you have a Lamborghini, you have all these supercars in the offense. You're not going to drive the Toyota a lot. And I'm not going to worry about the Toyota when you have Lamborghinis and Ferraris.
And I'll keep Jahan Dotson on my roster the whole time as long as he's willing to stay there for $1 million. I'm just not paying that fucking position a whole lot of money, or I'll go draft somebody. I'm not investing a whole lot.
Literally could, yeah.
There is no sense in it. So the people that want that role expanded understand what you're asking for. You're asking for an offense to start gearing itself more towards a pass game. And then what I need you to do is take a look at what happens to our offense when Jalen Hurts throws the ball 35 times a game. It's not a good outcome when he has to throw the ball that many times. It's usually not a good outcome, all right? Jalen is special at great at what makes him special as a dual threat quarterback. That's what makes him special, okay? Asking him to be a pocket passer is not the right thing to do. So expanding the wide receiver 3 role, that ain't bread and butter for the Birds, guys.
You don't want to force Jalen to get that far into his progression.
No, never.
If Jalen Hurts is consistently going through his progression and finding dots every single time, there's larger problems in the offense.
There's systemic problems, which we saw last year, right? Like that's I don't know. I'm off my soapbox with it. Scott Calcaterra with obviously personal investment in this position too. Are they going to re-sign Goddard? Look, we are a few years past the point in Goddard's career that we were at in Ertz's career when we drafted Goddard. I thought for sure we would draft a tight end sometime over the last couple of years. I like Grant. I do. I don't know how much the Birds value Grant at this point. It's unfortunate if he gets shown the door, but right now there's not a tight end on this roster. Okay, because Goddard, Grant, and Granson are all unrestricted free agents as it stands right now. So you're bringing back at least one of them. I can almost guarantee that. If you bring back Grant, I think you then have to bring back Goddard because I think Grant works well with Goddard. I think Grant spells Goddard well. Grant is not the blocker that Goddard is. Goddard can play both ends of the ball. He does it all, right? He just is having trouble staying on the field. Grant, while I love his route running ability in his hands, is not the physical blocking tight end that Dallas Goedert is. So if you bring back Grant, I'm all for it. I like Grant, but I think then you have to bring back Goddard.
Oh yeah. When it comes to Philadelphia tight ends, we definitely have a type. Blocker first and receiver second, and the person that kind of broke that mode a little bit was Zach Ertz. He wasn't as skilled of a blocker as Selleck was, and he was definitely more of a receiver, but he still he could block when he needed to.
Zach Ertz was about as afraid of contact as I would be going against a linebacker. Watch some video. He ducked a whole lot of shit, man.
He's not gonna be like Gonzalez or Gates. Okay, I'm not saying he's Rob Gronkowski. What I'm saying is, if we had to run inside zone his side, we could have if we wanted to. The point is that we don't have primary receiving tight ends in that spot in a Philadelphia offense. We just don't. And so I was talking to my dad before the show, and he brought up a really good idea, which is just having, if you want to pay Goddard a bridge contract of like a year, maybe two, until you find your long-term answer, you might, it's going to be a very steep price cut because your future is uncertain. So you're probably looking at something like $5 million, upwards, maybe 7 or 8 at the top, but it's a Band-Aid fix. And I have Goddard's jersey in my closet. I love Goddard.
Oh, who doesn't love Goddard? I mean, the only problem I've got with him is his first name. which makes it even better that we actually drafted him in Dallas. Dallas, there's nothing bad to say about the guy, but he's at that point where it's a little bit of awkward timing in terms of contract expiring and his age. He's also getting hurt a lot. He's having a hard time staying on the field. That doesn't typically get better with age. And so you might end up seeing is Goddard signing a 1-year contract, maybe worth $5 or $7 million. And then you hope to bring Calcaterra along for maybe roughly about that same, just because you don't want to lose a guy of young talent. You want to try and continue to develop as a blocker. But beyond that, it's definitely a sticky situation. And if you can't keep any of them, you best believe that second round picks would be a tight end. Yeah, I think the tight end is coming. I mean, even if it's strictly for depth, even if you do bring back Goddard and Grant, you're still going to need somebody else waiting in the wings, right? Look, at the risk of, let's play a little bit of devil's advocate here and go out on a limb. Maybe you fucking throw Grant out there with the first team offense and just give it a shot. I mean, you've invested in the kid. He's been there for a few years now, right? Why not? He's basically been there spelling Goddard, right? And some of the catches this kid has made during that period of time, I mean, the dude's got great hands, man. And his uncle is in our chat room right now, and really the entire family is just really solid people. So, not only do you have a kid that's got a lot of talent, but he's also coming from good stock. So there's never a worry about
it just
off the field bullshit or stupidity going on.
It just sucks that you have to make these kinds of decisions that are really crucial to the operations of an offense when you really haven't seen what the offense looks like yet. Of course, Howie Roseman is going to know what the X's and O's are going to be of Sean McVay's offense, but until you really hit the grass, you don't know. And so it really sucks that we're almost kind of blindly forecasting, we're blindly analyzing and kind of giving an autopsy of what exactly is going to happen. We have no idea what the hell. Either a Dallas Goedert could be less valuable in a Sean McVay offense as Grant Calcaterra,
sure.
And Grant Calcaterra could be a thing where he's like, okay, yeah, we're going to sign him to like a 5-year, $50 million deal because he's a perfect fit for Sean McVay's offense, and we're just going to want to lock him down for a long term. Or it could be a thing where it's like, actually, neither Goddard nor Calcaterra exactly fits my scheme, and now I want to kind of venture this guy to second round. It's really tough. We're in this position, but that's what we gotta have to do.
I don't know if the second round is where they'll go with a tight end. I guess it would depend on value of the pick at that point.
Right.
I think they're going to load up offensive line. Obviously, the trenches are always going to be a focal point. Hey, I love these people that I think we should take a corner in the first round. Are you fucking baked?
Are you idiot?
Look, because it's overreaction time, right? Everybody saw the CB2 spot as a problem, and it was. It was for most of the year. Corner 2 was a problem, but we knew that going into the season, right? They'll do something to try to rectify it. It's not going to be by spending a first or second round pick on a guy.
How about Denzel Ward? 3 years, $50 million.
You start looking at cap space, right? Like what are you going to do with Jalen Carter? Right? Yeah. It's either pick up 5th-year option or extend that contract and give.
Well, what if you then trade AJ after June 1st and you free up that money?
You free up a few more million there. It doesn't free up a shitload.
It doesn't.
It does free up some.
You're also going to have an ability to restructure Lane Johnson's phantom contract.
There's so many difficult decisions, though, right? The tight end room has nobody in it right now. Nakobe Dean, you have to make a decision there. Reed Blankenship, what are you going to do there? Jalen Phillips is an unrestricted free agent. There's just a lot of decisions that have to get made where I don't know that you're going to go and take a plunge on a corner 2. Because let's be honest, Quinion is easily the CB1. That's not even a freaking question.
Right.
The fact that kid wasn't part of the DPOY conversation after Satan won it the year before is beyond me. I don't understand it. The Quinion Mitchell gets the greatest compliment almost every game, and that is you never hear his freaking name.
That's right.
It's the best compliment you can pay a corner.
That's how you know a corner's doing well when you don't hear his name.
They either don't throw his way at all, or when they do, it's trouble, right? Like the guy, and he is up against the elite, right? Mm-hmm. It's just I don't know. That bothered me a little last year, but
I think this offseason, what you see is I think you go tackle number 1. Number 2, I think depending on Sean McVay's offense, like again, we're kind of doing this blind here. Number 2, I think you go tight end. Number 3, I think you venture into, if not something like a DB, if that calls your name somewhere, maybe even a linebacker, you start venturing into it. I think you let Jalen Phillips go. I think you collect that comp pick. I think you throw your hat into the Denzel Ward sweepstakes. So I think if you get Denzel Ward, you saw quarterback number 2. If you let Jalen go, you'll get a comp pick next year. You also let Nolan Smith and J.Alex Hunt kind of continue to fight for that little spot there. I think Nakobe Dean goes to Dallas. I think that's going to open up space for Jahai Campbell. Of course, you have Zach Bond. That third round pick might also be a linebacker. In terms of safeties, you have Makuba, who's going to be here hopefully for a long time.
Makuba's back, which is good.
I think you got to re-sign Reed as the same kind of a thing of Goddard if you do, which is kind of a band-aid bridge type of contract where you might do like 2 years, 20 million, just to kind of say, hey, we see you on the roster because you're
Well, and
one
he's a
body
safety.
who fits.
I don't know that you pay a safety more than that. That's probably top end. You know what I mean? He's not like, Reed Blankenship fits our scheme fine, right? Plays well in our scheme.
Hey,
But
if
the
he's
thing
welcome
is,
to giving us a
but he's not
discount,
a
I'll take that.
he's not a game changer anywhere else. You know what I mean? He's not. Like he could probably go get paid more somewhere else. He's not going to look as good.
Sure. Well, same thing went with Bond. One of the reasons why Bond wanted to stay in Philadelphia is because he knew that his schematics probably were going to fit as well anywhere else. And he was like, well, I know, Vic has a vision for me. And so I know I'm much better suited in Philadelphia than anywhere else. And I'll have my contract see that accordingly.
Yeah. So, we went through the free agent list a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it's a big list, dude. And it's a lot of tough decisions. And I'll say it again. It may not happen this year, folks, but come that 2027 draft, those of you who are, defend Jalen Hurts even when he looks like shit, you better get ready because I can almost guarantee the Birds are taking a quarterback in the 2027 draft. It's a deep QB draft.
Hard.
It's a deep QB draft, and it makes sense to do it. And I'm not suggesting that it's a guy that has to replace Jalen. What I'm saying is at some point, everyone needs a push. Okay? And, we did this with Carson. When we drafted Jalen, Carson didn't react well to it. Carson didn't have it up here at that point, right?
Belichick did with Brady, too.
But it happens. And
Jimmy G.
Don't be surprised, all right? If you want to act shocked, that's on you. But you're fooling yourself if you think it's not going to happen. I'm convinced of it.
It's funny that the year that Jimmy Garoppolo got traded to the Niners, there was actually a really big rift between Kraft and Belichick. I think Belichick wanted to trade Brady and roll with Garoppolo, and then Kraft said, "You're not going to trade my illegitimate son like that, you cranky old bastard. You will trade the youngin."
What you had was the constant questions at that point of who was really more responsible, Bill or Brady. Right?
That's right.
And you also had Bill looking at his survival, call it, right? What is my longevity? Brady was getting older. What keeps me employed longer? A younger quarterback, right? That I can groom and mold and all that shit. So he wanted to keep Jimmy G, and Kraft said, I want Jimmy G out. And of course, and I do believe Brady had his fingers all over that too. I think he went to Kraft and was like, hey, Bill's trying to do this and that. Get this motherfucker out of here, blah, 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 blah.
I would too.
Yeah. I mean, it was about survival for both of them at that point. I happen to enjoy the fact that Brady got the last laugh because I think Bill Belichick's a total prick, right? Like, Brady became so much more tolerable when he left New England, right? It was nauseating to see him win a 7th ring, but to watch him get hammered, throwing the Super Bowl trophy off of boats and shit, like he just was always so robotic and rigid and stiff. That whole organization took on the form of its leader, Belichick, right? When he went to Tampa, it was all loose. He's like, I didn't leave my wife and kids to not win, fucking blah blah blah. It was like, he became human instead of a robot, right? And it was a much more enjoyable watch. So,
hey, listen, I got a Buccaneers Brady jersey in my closet, so
I will never have one of those.
I do. I have one.
They'll never
I have one.
No, I'll still despise Tom Brady to the day I die, but he definitely became more likable when he got out from underneath Belichick.
I'll say this one thing about Brady, and then we can, if you want to go look to wrap up the show,
we can wrap it up.
We could do that. I, of course, was born in the early 2000s, and so I don't have the trauma of living through all of the Patriots' reign. I was only really kind of gaining sports consciousness around the time that they beat the Seahawks in 2014. I remember the 2013 Super Bowl. What I will say, I told my dad this when Brady was still playing. I said, listen, Tom Brady is the Michael Jordan of the NFL. Okay?
No question about it.
How much money would you spend right now to go watch Michael Jordan play again in the 90s with the Bulls, how much
God.
money would you spend?
Oh,
And I said,
for
okay,
Christ's sake, dude.
you hate Tom Brady's guts, and I completely understand why. But you cannot let yourself, you can't let your hate for a player blind you from appreciating what you have.
no,
Because
no.
when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, no. And I don't want anybody to misconstrue that. The respect I have for what he accomplished and what he was able to do, and the work ethic that which is really what separates guys
He's
like Brady,
45 years.
guys like Brady, Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Derek Jeter was another one like that. This undying work ethic, this undying just fucking fire, this competitive nature that puts them above everyone else. Like Derek Jeter's quote is one of the best ones. There's always going to be people who are more talented than you. There is never any excuse for anyone to work harder than you.
Yeah.
Right. And guys like Jeets and Jordan and Brady and Kobe, they live and die by that shit. It consumes their entire life. And it shows. Right? Michael Jordan is in my opinion, is the best basketball player that has ever lived. And
I agree.
In my opinion, the comparison, the only rival to that, as far as I'm concerned, is not LeBron James. It's Kareem. Like it's not. Look, LeBron James, and we can do a whole show just on how much I hate LeBron James. Respecting the fact that he's been able to stay pretty much healthy for this amount of time.
It's very impressive.
He's first. I'll finish with one stat on LeBron. He's first all time in seasons. He's second all time in games played.
Ooh.
Yeah. So fuck off. You know
That's hard.
Yeah. And he'll end up being first all time in games played. I think in another few, well, provided he doesn't need, to take another rest. But right now, I believe it's still Robert Parrish is first all time in games played.
That sounds right. And last little thing on Tom Brady, I just want people to kind of think about how many players arguably could have 3 different Hall of Fame careers.
Nobody. He's the GOAT, and it's not close, dude. It's really not.
I think he definitely rivals Jerry. But I mean, I think that they're probably 1A, 1B.
Rice?
Yeah. I mean, Rice has 22,000 receiving yards. In order for someone to beat Jerry Rice, they would have to be on Mike Evans' pace, double.
Yeah. I mean, Jerry Rice was an absolute spaz, dude. Like he was
for the era he played in too. It was not a pass happy league when Rice was playing. If Rice was playing nowadays, you can imagine, especially with the gloves and everything they have nowadays. Jerry Rice put up 22,000 yards in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s.
Yeah, no, Jerry Rice. I mean, I when you 7 Super Bowl rings, dude.
That's true.
And he at the most, he's also first all time in touchdown passes. He's first all time in yards. He's first all time in completions. It's not just the rings. He's got all the goddamn stats. He's got it all. So yeah, him, Jerry Rice. I did it. I think the first summer I was doing this show, I did a top 10 running backs thing because I had gotten sick and tired.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I got sick and tired of hearing about Emmitt Smith. And so I put it all out there that, if I was doing it, Emmitt Smith would be 10th on my list. And no, I don't give a shit that he's the all-time leading rusher. I'm talking about who was the best running back. And in my opinion, we can do that again here. Not tonight, obviously, but we can do that again. And I will tell you, for me, the conversation at the top is Barry Sanders, Jim Brown, and Walter Payton. Put them in whatever order you want, 1 through 3, but it starts with those 3. And I don't really know that you have much of an argument outside of it.
We could definitely debate the criteria, and I'd love to have that debate. But
yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we'll save that for when it really gets to dead time.
Sports debates in the summer.
Yeah. All right. What's your closing thoughts? We got to get out of here. Hour and a half.
Closing thoughts. We open up with baseball. It's a wild west of a sports league, and it's not the big billionaires that hate reform. It's the small billionaires that can't gravy train anymore. And so when it comes to that, that's going to ruffle a lot of feathers. After that, we talked about. I think we went right into the birds. AJ Brown. You don't replace the guy like AJ Brown. You just learn to kind of adjust without him. A lot of this kind of talk in terms of schematics and offensive fit, everything like that, is really useless without kind of being able to see what Sean Mannion's offense looks like on turf. Of course, they're going to know a lot more things than we do, and we also have to take that into account there. But the draft, I like the first guy more than the second guy just because we don't have Jeff Statland. I don't want to take Beamer Bus guys anymore, but of course, Lane Johnson is going to be the mentor for at least a year. I hope we go offensive lineman. I hope we go second round. You might see a tight end, maybe. Okay. And third is either going to be a defensive back or a linebacker.
Yeah, I can see it. For me, the draft, and I will be at the combine. Liam and I will leave next. We won't be there Thursday. I'm leaving work half day next Friday, going to pick him up, cruise out the hour and a half to Indianapolis. We'll plant our shit at the hotel, and we are right across the street from Lucas Oil Stadium. So we'll walk on over and start taking a look. I think the Friday is defensive backs and tight ends, something like that. So we'll get a good look at some of these guys with their 40 times and shit like that, and have a nice fun weekend. So you guys got suggestions of who you think the Birds might be looking at or who you'd like them to look at? Shoot them on over. Send them to me, and I'll try to they give you stuff where you can fill out each guy's measurables and stuff when he's going through his drills. So we can do some of that. As far as the draft goes for me, it's simple. I do believe in the trenches outward approach. I think the first round has to be I prefer a tackle. If it's a hybrid tackle guard or just a straight up guard, fine. But you've got to address at least one of those spots.
Yep.
In the first round. Overall, the first 3 rounds, I do not want to see draft picks coming from small-time schools. I want my picks coming from Big Ten schools. I want them coming from SEC schools, Big 12, big-time programs, right? There's not everybody's a Quinion Mitchell that can come out of Toledo and dominate in the NFL, right? Those are fucking rare breeds. So go get the sure thing. Best player available at a position of need. If that's tight end in the second round, grab it. If it happens to be another offensive lineman, grab it. If it's a safety, grab it. Do what you got to do, or either that or trade back and get more picks. Do that. Just don't reach, especially in those first 3 rounds. That's the way I look at it. I don't want to talk anymore about A.J. Brown until something happens with A.J. Brown. I'm fucking done with A.J. Brown at this point. It's just beating a dead horse. I don't want to hear any more about A.J. Brown. I don't want to hear any more filth about wide receiver 3. Okay? Enough with this shit.
I love my Hondas.
You're right. Yeah, the Accord is a solid vehicle. But yeah, that's about all I got. So we'll come back. Mason, what's your work schedule look like next week? Do you know?
I'm off.
You're off next week. All right.
All my PTO. They put all the PTO next week.
All right. So we'll look at whatever time then next week. So just let me know if you got plans like to go do whatever shit
sure,
young folks do now. And we'll work around that. My work schedule is going to remain a little hectic.
Okay.
But at minimum right now we'll plan for Wednesday night. And if that needs to adjust then we'll adjust from there.
Sound good?
All right, folks, we're going to get the hell on out of here. Thank you for being here. Come on back again next week. We're going to keep talking combine. We'll keep talking draft picks. Come with your suggestions if you've got not just positions. Give us players. Tell me some folks to watch out for, right? I mean, I've got a few already. I've got a few that were on my radar. But I'd love more. And my son and I will be out there. I think Josh is planning to come out if he can. I know our good friend Lee down in Kentucky, he's going to come out. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like Captain Demps is going to make it this year. Flight times just don't work. So, but yeah, we'll be back at it again next week. Get on to your weekend, folks. I hope you've enjoyed your first false spring because that shit's about to go away. We had a high of 68 degrees here today. It will be 29 for the high on Sunday. So, global warming at its finest. Take care. Enjoy the upcoming weekend. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. Remember, the judge is not back in until Monday. And as always,
go Birds.
Go Birds.